some of that was just hunting down sources of the time. And there are a lot of good, I didn't put a bibliography in this book, but there are fantastic accounts of London in the 18th century, what life was like and what it smelled like and what people were obsessed with. And the daily life of real people I find fascinating because we have put quite a patina on the past.
The library was my space, and there was just so much.
To the Harbor Grace excursion with the boys to have a time.
Thank you, everyone. Sorry, Susan Sarandon. I know she's here somewhere tonight. Thank you to the library, and especially Sergio and his crew for having us here tonight. And thank you to Knopf Canada for bringing this book into the world. I'm going to try to give you a short overview of the novel so that you'll understand what Michelle and I are talking about. And I'm going to start just by reading the first few paragraphs of the book, which will hopefully situate you, and then I shouldn't be reading for more than 12 to 40 minutes. No, read about 12 minutes. So this is the beginning of the novel. Can you hear me? Okay. My dear sir, now that I've had another brandy, I am ready. It has taken the best part of an hour to steady my hands enough to make my letters. It is a nervous business puzzling out where to begin, especially with a story such as this one, which is entirely true. You are surely bedeviled by manuscripts and solicitations, as well as promises that your time will be repaid, but I make no such assurances beyond saying that I will put down here the truth in the matter of Katterfelto versus the Crown, and hope that the truth will move you to pass this account along to your publishers. Does that name, Katterfelto, ring a bell, sir? Presently, I will tell of the person to whom it attaches. You have in fact met him. You may recall that he produced a kitten from your waistcoat. I pray my scrawl be legible to you, but as I am a ship, the swells may play havoc upon my handwriting. Whatever lenses or magnifiers you may require, I beg you, fetch them now. Before you hearken to my tale, I should like to properly reintroduce myself, as we have also met. My name is Roger Gossage, although I was born Gozlan, a Mizrahi Moroccan name. Morocco is where my Spanish forebears fled in 1492 and rooted themselves in the fabric of that place, and where, approximately 3 centuries later, I was born. My mother died in childbirth, and my father, God rest him, named me Raphael Melucham. Raphael meaning God has healed, but Melucham meaning paid with money. As a child, he called me Dog and was prestigious with the strap. Later, I called myself by many names, but now I go by Roger. So Roger Gossage is writing this account to somebody who thinks might be able to bring what he's about to tell him to the public attention. And he starts his story by telling him how he was expelled from France in 1792 during the Revolution, and then found himself living in London for 2 years, impoverished and mostly drunk. And at the end of that period, during which he's heavily depressed, he decides he's just going to take his fate into his own hands, and he's going to just head straight north out of London and head into the British Midlands. And that's where we meet him now. At last, I washed up in a place called Dudley, about 10 miles south of Birmingham, after a 21-day walk, subsisting on berries and roots. And there I found the Magpine Stump, a cold brick building at the end of the town, a last chance for a yard before the muddy road took me back into the fields. I thought to try a plug copper there and see if it would get me a drink and a scrap of bacon. I'd got the plug off a traveler with whom I'd shared a stolen loaf of bread, and I'd been saving it for a special occasion. The fire in the grate was too small to heat the tavern on this cold spring evening, and consequently the air was greasy and damp with interweaving layers of smoke and steam shifting in it, so thick in places that when it passed, it would reveal someone standing right in front of you. I approached the oaken bar and put my plug down with a clacking noise upon the wood. Usually the sound of specie hitting the bar is enough to bring the man around, and when he sees that I am not a local, so he may greet me coldly, but money is money, However, perhaps my plug did not make the correct sound because the man kept away, wiping out flagons and refilling them. I waited a while longer, and when I decided to go to the other end of the counter, I reached for my coin and saw that a hand was already on top of it. That hand, liver-spotted with chewed-up nails and cuticles, belonged to a gaunt fellow in a square velvet cap ornamented with glass gems. He wore a mustache and a white beard that came to a point an inch below his chin, and drooping off his jacket's shoulders were a pair of dirty epaulettes. He appeared to be an out-of-work conquistador or the captain of a ghost ship. He smelled of wood smoke and malt. Something merry in his look, however, kind-heartedness or cheer, convinced me he was no immediate threat. He organized his eyes to look directly at me. "Sir," he said, "what would you wager that your coin is still under my hand?" He pronounced wager as wager, and I placed his accent as Mittel European. "I have aught to wager," I told him, "but on my honor I will guess that my coin is no longer under your hand." He blinked once. "Have you honor?" "As the circumstances warrant, sir." "On your much vouchsafed honor, you say your coin is gone, despite you have seen me put my hand upon it." "I make no claims," said I, "merely a guess. I saw your hand but move, and then you posed me a question. Your hand doth lie in the place where my silver was, but you would not have asked me if the coin was still there. If it were, so it must not be. By misdirection you have taken it." He smiled. "Well, clearly you are so interested, I will tell you. When you look down to get the attention of Ale Boy, I take your coin, and at the same time I pretend to cover it. But now comes the tricky part. How do I get your coin back under my hand without you noticing?" "Well, sir, I am presently noticing. But look now, I will put it back before your eyes." He removed his hand. My special coin was exactly where I had left it. "Very good," I said, keeping a pace with his mischief, "but obviously it has been there all the while." "No, sir, you yourself say I make it vanish. But now look," he said, gesturing floridly at the coin. "Now it has been put back, by me." "Then do it again, just the vanishing part." He raised an eyebrow at me, but it trembled a little. "Ale Boy!" The barman came over at last, although he was little older than 16, strapping and covered in spots. "Yes, sir." "Who am I, boy?" "You, sir, are Dr. Christian Wilhelm Anton Katterfelto, called Gustavus, a natural philosopher and master of wonders. Tell this gentleman wayfarer which of my wonders did please you the most." "Oh, sir, your black cat." "Tell him," he instructed the boy, and the boy turned to me. "Sir, Dr. Katterfelto's black cat can shoot a pistol, a small one, but even more marvelous, it has grown a tail that may be removed, but when separated from its body yet curls and twitches. I saw it 4 nights ago in the field yonder by the racket courts, and I was stiff with amazement." Katterfelto turned his cheerful eyes on me. "This Ale Boy was stiff in amazement, do you hear? If I can remove my cat's tail and reattach it, do you not think I can steal coins and return them without twitching my hair? Why, I do it for my own entertainment." With this, he covered my coin with his hand again and said, "Disappear." And then he lifted his hand and said, "Reappear." This he did a number of times, all the while smiling with his gray teeth and tick-tocking his head right and left. Disappear, reappear, disappear. By now he had earned himself a little crowd. "Is this how you ask a fellow to stand you an ale?" I asked. "You don't have the money to buy me an ale, sir." "I have the coin you keep vanishing and unvanishing." "What coin?" "The coin that you have been sporting with, good sir, right there under your hand." "I am afraid you are mistaken. There is no coin under my hand." Slowly, for he was a showman in his blood, he tilted his palm up for all to see that the coin was indeed gone. "How do you do?" he said, striking a surprisingly erect, even military posture. "Dr. Gustavus Katterfelto, at your service." So from this original meeting, they become sort of friends, but really Gossage becomes Katterfelto's amanuensis and confederate, basically his employee. And they start off together. I'll give you an example of what one of the shows sort of sounds like. And you understand Katterfelto he's a traveling magician. He sells quack medicines and demonstrates microscopes and does all kinds of cool stuff for the late 18th century. I'd met him after his 3rd of 5 scheduled performances in Dudley. There was barely a paying audience at the town hall on the 4th night, And the next day, I went about the village shouting up the marvels to be seen, maximum seating 110. I am not a person lent to hollering in public, but one must sometimes shout for one's supper. On the 5th night, there were 40 paying customers, and at the end of it, he gave me 2 shillings. He declared we would announce a 6th and final show, and if that went well, we would announce a 7th and final show. In my first week of employment, he taught me the art of confederacy. I know it will come as no surprise to a man of your learning that many tricks require an accomplice. Someone to pull a silk thread, someone to call out a number or give a secret sign. He had shown me the coded gestures and hand signs with which I could signal him from the crowd. To work effectively among our spectators, I would have to wear one or more of the many costumes and disguises that the doctor kept in a trunk. As his crowds increased, he showed a strength of purpose that lifted up his audiences. First, his dexterous magic would delight them, and once sated on amusements, his oratory enlightened them. One night, he spoke on magnetism, electricity, and the bounty of nature. We have only just begun to understand her powers, he told the town hall audience. Every day, new discovery. What a wonder is steam. What a savior will be electricity. These gifts are coming direct from nature, and we will harness them and bring centuries of prosperity and health. And with our vital bodies and our long lives, what shall we do? Tame nature herself and live to 100. By the way, meine Freund, if you want to be 100, I suggest you take a few drops of Dr. Batto's daily health serum upon waking, and also when you go back to sleep. It also works to soothe the colic, cure headaches, and is the most pleasant aid to digestion available in the whole of the empire. Do not, ladies and gentlemen, exceed more than 20 drops in one day. So these 2 gentlemen are walking through the English countryside and basically slip into months and then years of penury, cold, and starvation. And they're on the last of their legs, really, when something happens to them that turns their fortunes around. I'm not going to read any of the scenes from where this happens, except to tell you that what they find is a silver horn in a river. And when they begin to use it in their performances, it doesn't emit the voice of the person who's speaking into it. Rather, it emits a woman's voice. And this woman is talking about things that these audiences in 1796 have never heard of. She's talking about climate change. She's talking about uploading things. She's talking about the end of the world. So what happens as the novel goes on is they have to struggle with what it means that they're using this magical silver horn, which may be the only record of one human being's suffering somewhere. And they're making a lot of money off it, and they're becoming very famous. So I'm going to read to you just a few very short sections from that voice. And this comes from a chapter midway through the book, which is called Roger Gossage's Record of Ceres' Earliest Utterances. And they're hearing this woman's voice from somewhere very distant. The transmission is not clean, so there's a lot of breaks in what they can hear, and I'll try to provide that sensation. There's a lot of reasons to work for Themis is the retirement plan which will provide for my kid when I'm gone. I have a son who suffers from grand mal, shouts like someone stabbing him in the heart, twists, cringes, cries out, but afterwards he can't tell me if the pain I see is real or is it just the seizure flipping switches. Wakes up, doesn't remember Abel's burden. I want to change it, powerless, and I curse fate. But I see with my own eyes the random acts of good and bad and indifferent that make up. So why not especially him or me or Dad? He lives with us. He's 82. That's the only way to make this work with his pension and my salary. We can afford a 1-bedroom apartment in New Jamestown, but no one will insure you if you live within 800 meters of the old shoreline, and forget about it if your actual apartment building is underwater past its 2nd floor. You're on your own. Live in beautiful New Venice, they say in some of the ads for the apartments below King. Can you hear me? So she thinks that she's talking to a distant alien species who may be listening in on what she's up to, which is uploading the works of the human species because the world's ending and some of the last corporations on Earth have figured out how to squeeze the last dollar out of apocalypse. And they've hired these people to read books and watch movies, and they're hooked up to computers, and this stuff is getting sent somewhere else. It turns out it's not going where this person thinks it's going. I'm just continuing a couple more short passages. Our first commonplace AI was named Siri, S-I-R-I. You can call me that, even though it's not my real name. Maybe you will have to decide on your end whether my intelligence is also artificial. What's an artifice now, though? Only something that's made up of other things, and isn't that everything? Call me a prisoner, even though I come to work of my own volition, despite what it's turning me into. Because you have people to take care of, because there's a cause, because you're dying anyway, and how better to spend watching reruns of Hogan's Heroes or reading the works of George Orr. Not my real name, called Toronto, used to be a city on a body of water called Lake Ontario, but it is no longer on the lake so much as in it. The magic of global warming. The building I work in used to be on the lake shore, but now half its floors are under. Take the Algo barge from city side to the 5th floor, although it was only last year we were docking at the 4th, which made the St. Lawrence change direction. Lakes creep about 3 meters a year, they're saying, but it depends on different factors. Rainfall, for one. Or maybe you should erase us. Stick a couple humans into any of your interstellar systems and we'll fuck it up. We'll learn to stand upright, and next thing we'll dig in the ground to see what's under it. Oh, potatoes and carrots and truffles. Next thing it's gold and diamonds and coal's deadly embrace. Human history isn't much more than the story of how we've tried to stay warm. Animal skins cowering in caves around wood fires, and coal made the Industrial Revolution inevitable, which is cool. Coal and electricity and greed. Sure, it was fun for a while. It was a hell of a party. But now look at us. The trees are gone. Might seem to you a neat trick to magically seed life on a wet rock plunging through space, but a greater trick is making it all disappear in just a few centuries. That's what we have been busy at, making the planet vanish. Imagine we took the Earth and sealed it in a plastic bag. Think how hot it would get in there. Enough to melt the North Pole. Carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, even water vapor is the bag we're in. Chopping down forests and burning coal and cow farts made a hole in the sky, a magnifying glass for the sun. Melted the polar ice caps just like they said it would. Am I entertaining you yet? For Christ's sake, tell me how to help my boy. Hi.
Hey,
Oh, there's the timey thing.
wow! You went straight for the dark, and then you finished on the dark.
That's right. I want
Yeah.
people to be very upset.
I was wondering where to start the questions from, but what's got the heaviest vibe? I guess it's doom. We might as well start there.
Well, we're going to end there, right? Is my mic
It's
on?
all over anyway.
I think I'll drink the wine first.
Hey, lovely reading.
Thank you.
Lovely reading. You can tell you're a theater man.
Once was.
Yeah.
And you were too.
I
Not
was a theater man.
Theater person. This has gone off the rails already.
This is all going very
One of us
wrong.
is already canceled.
Do you read in character as Gossage?
Yeah, I guess so. Like, especially in a book where there's more than one person speaking, it's
Yeah.
good to differentiate a little. And his language is a little ornate. I mean,
Yes.
and I don't know what you'd call it. It's 18th century writing on some level. So it feels like I shouldn't be pronouncing it like I'm reading the newspaper.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. But I'm not doing, like, the doctor has a very serious German accent.
Yes,
Which Prussian, German, Swedish, he wasn't specific.
That's true. He was a fraud and a charlatan.
Yeah, exactly, from the start. So that, I don't want to try to do that. So just differentiating them a bit.
Yeah.
However, the guy who's done the audiobook, a guy named Patrick McManus, and the audiobook is out now, and Patrick is fantastic in it, as is Jill Deacon, who does Siri's voice.
Yes.
And Patrick, by the time he gets to the end of the book, has to interpret and deliver I don't know, 15 different male and female voices.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's hard.
Okay, in writing it, and I did wonder this, like, you're writing in character as Gossage, because Gossage is our ambassador and our narrator. As far as like his voice, you're writing in character, did you lose yourself there? Did you, come back to the world and refer to things, my singlet, I'm gonna...
I'm too big for that, I wear a doublet.
Doublet.
I'll tell you that I knew when it wasn't sounding like him. That's probably the best way to put it, because after a while of testing out what a character's voice is like, and if you're writing in first person, it's even more specific a task. But what's nice about it is that once you get to learn what that person sounds like, and that means how they think too, then you start to relate to them the way you relate to somebody you know really well, and you would say, oh no, they'd never do that, or they never put it that way, But lots of rewriting of that first person voice is what got there, testing it and trying to take out anything that had a false note.
Right. Yeah. Oh, no, go.
I was going to say that I did spend quite a bit of time as I was writing, stopping to read the etymology of words to make sure they would have been in use at the end of the 18th century.
Right. I was going to say, like, Crummy always has, like, the dictionary of the vulgar tongue and the dictionary of Newfoundland turns of phrase. Like, what were you referring to, I suppose? Like, did you have a source?
Well, I tried to read, listen, James Boswell is an amazing source for that period because he is writing journals and diaries, and granted, he's giving a specific point of view from that time and place, but he was a real gadabout, so he had a kind of roughness to him. There you go, right. Gadabout means, Boswell writes about his life in so many different places, like he wrote the life of Johnson and paid incredibly close attention to what that man sounded like, but he was also really good at putting down dialogue of the average person, and I'm sure he wasn't aware that he was also putting down how a gentleman in the 1760s and 70s would write his own journals. He was aware of wanting them to be discovered and read, but still they have a very private tone to them. And I tried to dip into the newspapers and read anything I could get my hands on that would reveal a little bit of the real or private life of individuals in the time.
Right, and it was such a time too, right? Because the printing press was relatively new, and the pamphlets were all out, and people read like never before. And if you didn't read, you went to the square, and somebody would read it
or shout
to
it out
you,
too.
and then you would all gossip because everybody was out reading the same stuff.
Yeah, it's like the early internet, eh? It's just like the town square is really small, but everybody's being fed the same news.
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah, it was also a time of. I believe that those folks at the middle and end of the 18th century felt as modern and charged up with invention and technology as we do, although I think we look at our technology from perhaps more of a critical standpoint these days because we're wondering what it's doing to us, whereas for them it was a coming utopia that was going to change everything and make lives better, and they were actually going to succeed in this pursuit of happiness that they were all so big about.
Right. When you name your own movement the Enlightenment, like, what should we call it? It's so there's so many parallels between then and what they were hopeful for and what they were capable of, and where we are now. You're really what is it? The 18th century isn't
over yet.
Yeah.
It's one of the quotes at the front of the book.
That's right.
This idea that one of the things I wanted to explore in this book was what if the people of the past, who were sort of the latest version of us Western people, could have seen what their inventions and their new services were going to do 200 years in the future. Like, and I guess it's that question is up against us in the here and now, knowing what we have to do, and are we doing it? So, you know, would anyone 200 years ago have been convinced, you know, please, you've got to find an alternate fuel right now or the world is going to end? They'd laugh you out of wherever you were.
I know. The darkness is, there's a fair, I mean, it's the apocalypse, and reading, like, there are times when reading about, you know, looking out the, 15th story window at Lake Ontario, gets to be like, quite a bit. The book balances out magic and delight and a beautiful, beautiful friendship with this bleakness. And it's with a bleakness, but also with an actual possibility, like an actual.
Yeah, they are working towards something.
Yes. The drive to help.
The drive to help, or the belief that things are going to get better, and that's all you have to do is just keep plugging away at it. But what you said about the friendship, I'll like to comment on, because I think some people have asked on reading this book, is it hopeful in any way? I mean, we may not feel it's hopeful from our point of view, knowing what they don't know in this book. But Gossage and Katterfelto end up going through a lot of apocalyptic moments with each other. They survive a number of terrible winters, and they keep each other going, you know. And to me, in the midst of conditions that are nearly impossible to survive, such as they experience, that the most local thing is the thing that is most precious to them, which is each other. And to my thinking, we still have that. We have that now. Hopefully we still know how to use it. The human element, at the very least, is the thing that we can have some control over, our capacity for kindness and compassion, for God's sake. Can I ask? That's it. Can I ask about your relationship with the Rime of the Ancient Mariner? Also one of your epigraphs. But, I imagine a lot of you have read the Coleridge poem, Rime of the Ancient Mariner. What's great about that poem is it seems kind of stodgy when you sit down and begin to read it. It's written in a kind of ragged meter that doesn't loan itself to being rolling off your tongue. But if you read it out loud to yourself or someone else, and it's not that long a poem, you get caught up in the drama and the terror of that poem, which is about an ancient mariner who is doomed to retell his tale for eternity. His tale is how he rode a ghost ship and shot down an image of Succor, which is the albatross that the mariner kills and dooms the ship. But the poem is it's funny because one of Coleridge's biographers refers to the Rime of the Ancient Mariner as a green parable, and is talking about how Coleridge had some sensitivity to how humans were changing the natural world, and I think that comes out in the poem when the only sign of safety and succor is this bird from the shore that they sport with and kill, right? So, I mean, there's something in there that feels has a very modern aspect to it, like a lesson in it.
It's universal and forever. I went and read it just because my dad used to know the first two stanzas to the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, because he said, you never know when you're going to go to a party and somebody's going to ask you to recite a poem from memory. Your dad went to some cool
parties, eh?
You couldn't be too ready. But It really is a poem about the urgency of kindness, and that guy, the ancient mariner, is set for the rest of his days to continue warning any wedding guest of what's coming and what we need.
Right, and he has to go on forever because nobody listens to him.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean, again, fairly bleak. Okay, here I have some categories of
Oh, yeah?
question that.
Can I take 18th century for 600?
Yeah. Ooh, how would you like hauntings? I think you'd like hauntings very much.
Yes, let's discuss hauntings.
Yes. So this is the second in a series of hauntings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I should tell you about how I put myself in this position.
Would you?
Because I had published a novel called Consolation, 2007, 2008, and I had moved to France with my young family. And I took my laptop down to a coffee shop one morning and thought, what am I going to write about? And I'd had a little idea kicking around in my head about a man who goes to try to find his missing wife with the ghost of his missing wife. He doesn't really know if she's dead or alive, but she's there in the car with him when he goes to this, he's heard of a clue, and so I started to write this novel in 2007. And then I had another idea for a novella, which was sort of the beginning of this book, which was also about a ghostly voice. And I thought, hey, cool, I'm going to write like a triptych of novels, and they're all going to focus on, each one's going to have a ghost in it. And I'm here 18 years later with only 2 of them published. So I'm still, the first one I'm still writing. And I couldn't finish it until I'd written these 2.
Okay.
So I had a masterful structure in mind. It's going to be 3 volumes, 2 novels, and the 3rd volume was going to be 3 novellas. The first novella was going to be this 18th century story, and the 3rd novella was going to be the Siri voice. And they were already related to each other, but they were moribund on their own. So then I started sewing them together and realized, oh shit, this is the 2nd book now.
Oh,
Throw out that 3rd novella now.
buddy. Yeah.
Fiddlesticks.
How did you know? Where did you even find Katterfelto? Where did you run into that guy?
So I don't know if it's clear, but Gustavus Katterfelto lived, and he lived between 1740 something and 1799. And I had only come across him because Harry Houdini's memoirs contain a lot of really cool esoteric magic history in it. And he devotes 10 pages to Katterfelto, who he only knew about because of some old magic book that had some of his effects in it. And he learned what he could about Katterfelto and wrote this kind of essay about the tragedy of the itinerant entertainer, how they were looked upon as vagrants and thieves. And in fact, these fellows are thrown in jail like twice in this novel. Yeah. I was fascinated by his empathy for this, this grubby kind of character who was never who he said he was. But that was all I got from that. And then I did a little bit more research, and I actually found so Katterfelto was buried in a church in Bedale, which is in northern England. The priest, or the rector at that church, saw Katterfelto's name engraved in a stone on the church floor and wondered who he was. And then he went back and read 50 or 60 years worth of newspapers to figure out who he was, where he had been, the reviews, which were sometimes poems. People would write poems into the newspapers to describe something they'd seen. And he reconstructed this guy's life for especially the last 25 years, where he performed, in some cases, what tricks he performed or what scientific instruments. Like, this guy was totally bbssed. So the book is called Katterfelto, the Prince of Puff. And the rector has since moved from Bedale. I think he might be in London now. And I was in touch with him a few times to tell him that I was writing a completely fictional novel about this guy he'd done so much research into, and I kept threatening to send him the manuscript. But I never did, so I'll just send him the book, I guess.
Did you feel it was at all important to get him historically accurate?
Only in the sense of his time and place, because we really don't know anything about this guy,
Right.
So to try to recreate the places that they went to, the cities, the countryside, the forests, some of that was just hunting down sources of the time. And there are a lot of good, I didn't put a bibliography in this book, but there are fantastic accounts of London in the 18th century, what life was like and what it smelled like and what people were obsessed with. And the daily life of real people I find fascinating because we have put quite a patina on the past.
Yeah. I was going to ask about the number of smells in that book.
Yeah.
Obviously you've got this somewhere.
I did a smell pass.
Uh-huh. Let's see, what else? But how did you encounter him? How did you first, was it just reading that book?
The Katterfelto?
Yeah.
Well, it was first by reading Houdini, and then lucking into this strange biography this man has written. There's literally nothing else about him.
Yeah. And what an opportunity, to have a character that fruity and
Yes, that's exactly it.
Yeah, and when the whole way through fruity, he's wearing a crushed velvet cap, and the magic. It's a character that you can do absolutely anything with, and it's so much fun. The magic is super, super fun. Those scenes of some of the prestidigitation and.
Thank you.
Yeah. Did you? Okay, so when you're writing about a coin trick.
Yeah.
Can you do the coin trick? Is it important?
Are you asking me to do it now?
Well, maybe.
Well, let's say everyone could do a coin trick. It's not that hard to learn. You just have to, have a little bit of dexterity in your fingers. But he says in the book that anytime you learn a secret to a trick, you're disappointed.
Yes.
Because it's always something really corny or simple. Someone pulling a string or, it's misdirection.
Yeah.
But in this book, there's at least one trick that is described in great detail, how to change the time on a clock, a watch, a timepiece. And if you get your hands on an 18th century timepiece, you can do this trick for anybody.
Yeah, God, it's so much fun. Let's see. Also in my list of questions, okay, so there was a lot of this book that appealed to me as a lover of theater, but also a lover of magic and humbuggery. I think that's what they used to call it. But it also appeals to a young me.
Mm-hmm.
How much would this book appeal to a young Redhill?
Oh, that's a great question, and absolutely, it really would have. I don't want to read it now, but if I was 10, no, it really plugged into a part of myself that was, loved to take things apart and try to figure out how they worked and break things and stuff like that. And I tried to do magic for my siblings when I was a kid. It was just fun to play around with that stuff, but. Something about the innocence of the people in the novel was really pleasant to be around for the years that I was writing it. And I will say that during the pandemic, they were great company, because their problems were nothing compared to what we were going through at that time. Although I will add, by the way, that Katterfelto was one of the first people to demonstrate a microscope that was lit by the sun or the moon and project pictures from something he was enlarging, and he showed, moving bugs in a drop of milk, like little tiny snakes and horseshoes and things like that. And he claimed that these things were making people sick. He blamed an influenza on it, and he was sort of the first person, or his ilk were the first people to sort of come up with a rough idea of germ theory, right? Because they finally were able to see these things. They had no idea what they were. They just wanted to scare their audiences with them. They didn't know how scary they were.
Yeah, just a microscope. That's
Exactly.
terrifying. And he used regular city water or like just a drop of anything will give you a weird blobby,
Yeah, well, actually, one of the accounts I read, he has somebody offer him a little knife full of, it's like a pate of some kind that somebody's eating, and he spreads it over a piece of glass and magnifies what's in it. No,
yeah.
You don't want to know.
It was the plague, though, wasn't it? Like,
Well,
he
not.
was- oh, it was the flu.
It was the
Yeah.
influenza. There was a number of waves of influenza through Europe in the 18th and especially the 18th century.
Right.
Should we? Where are we at?
Wait, here we have one more minute. I'm gonna
Okay.
ask one more question, and then it's up to the people. Is there someone you write for?
Oh, that's a good question.
Do you? Yeah. Do you have an ultimate reader?
I think honestly, I write for myself. I want to write something that will amuse me and engage me and give me a problem to solve.
Right.
So I just hope that there are readers out there who are interested in the same problem or perhaps the same way of approaching it.
Yeah.
I want to mainly to delight myself and hope that translates into the reader's experience. I think it's maybe a bit of a fool's game to try to write for anybody.
I know. I think it's the absolute best that you can do is dazzle yourself. You're also your worst critic,
Yeah.
right? So you might as well impress yourself.
Yeah, but if you can have some fun, and I know that you have fun.
Yeah.
We agree on this, that writing on long-form work can be a form of torture, self-applied. So, if you're not having some fun.
Right. What a silly thing to do.
What a silly thing to do. You know what I say to some of my students in writing classes, like about writing? I say to them, if you can stop.
Yeah. If there's anything
And
else you can do with your time.
If there's any way out of here for you, take it. But if you can't, welcome.
And I'm sorry.
Yeah, I warned you.
Okay.
That was great, thank you.
No, you were great.
All right. Whatever.